Okay, I'd like to call the meeting in order, and if you would, please rise. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the March 10th, 2022 Town Board meeting. And as most of you know, we have public access in the beginning and also at the end. So at this point, I'll open it up if we have any visitors who wish to come forward and anything on your mind. Got to have your name and address, please.
It's Betty Fucci, 36 Killock Avenue, also known as Bonnie. And I guess I'm back here to see if the board has any ideas about how to solve that water problem that they created by suggesting the house that's being erected above me disperse of their water onto my land with pipes, which is against New York state law. So is there any kind of, are you planning on fixing it this spring?
Betty, I'm pretty sure you remember. I know you probably do. The rest of the people don't. In November, I made an appointment and made sure you're home and came down to
It
your
took me a
home.
month to get you to come, but yes, I do remember that.
Excuse me?
It took a month for me to get you there, but I do remember that, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that was November.
Yeah.
And I brought the highway superintendent,
Okay.
Terry Scriven. I brought the general form of the highway,
Mm-hmm.
and we met with you,
Yeah,
and we went out and walked, probably spent over an hour, hour and a half, whatever.
about
And,
45 minutes.
and then basically we talked to you, we came up with a plan, we stated a plan. Listen, you were in agreement with that.
What was that plan?
Now, let me follow up.
Okay,
When we got all done, we came up with a plan, talked to you, you were in agreement of that. And then Terry Scriven said, we can't do it in November or December, it's gonna be the spring. Do you understand? And you said, yes, I do understand. And I got in
You
the truck
said you'd see
and
what we
Terry
could
said,
do.
Phil, she's gonna be at the next board meeting. I said, no, she just agreed to wait till spring.
to see what we
and-
can
and-
do is what you said.
Betty, let me follow up a little bit. I talk now, I'll let you have it. So what happened was Terry said, because Terry raised right next to you.
A while ago, yeah,
Yeah,
quite a while.
we were all a while ago when we were kids, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But anyway, Terry said Betty's going to come to the next meeting. I said she won't come to the next meeting because you said you're going to fix it in the spring, and she knows. But I missed the next meeting,
I wasn't at the last.
so I turned the TV on here, and there you were, and put a complaint in. And then the next day, I got not a very happy gentleman called and said, "Why don't you listen to that lady? Why don't you pay attention to that woman?" And he went off on me. So let me explain to you, and maybe the gentleman's watching and the people what happened that day,
Yeah.
and see if you remember this.
Yeah, I don't remember a plan. I remember we'll see what we can do in the spring is what you said.
No.
There was no definite plan.
Yes,
Okay, tell me the plan.
Terry's not with me. So what happened is above your home was a vacant lot for a long time, correct?
Forever. It was
Forever,
never, it
forever.
never was built on.
And then the lot got sold, and the person that bought it went in and started doing some work because they put a home on it. And it was drainage work, and there's water above your home on this lot. Well, when it wasn't built or wasn't worked on, the water had a lot of different escape routes.
Right.
Now, the gentleman could have drained it on the back of his property, and that would have went right, because you're downhill, it would have went right behind your property, right onto your property. So what he did was what he should have done, because there's water coming off the hill on the upper end too. He put a ditch to put the water toward the front of the road, the town road, in the ditch from that property.
Well, there was no ditch at the time. He just put the water coming out of the pipe created a shallow ditch. But
Well, there was a ditch along the road, anyway, the highway road. So what happened was we looked at that, we talked about that. Then and I was right with you,
Yeah, I was there.
we walked down, and your concern is, once we got by your home, your concern, Betty, is the lot across the street
Where the water's being piped.
where the
to
water's
lot.
getting piped to.
Yes.
Is you're concerned about getting wetter and wetter.
Well, it's a pond. That's a skating pond for the kids now this winter. They're out there,
They got
not
to.
with skates on, but all the kids are asking, can we skate on your pond? They're calling it
Wow.
a pond now. That's how much water's there now.
When I was there was trees and all over. I didn't
Right.
see
Right.
any skating pond. But
Right.
so anyway, we walked down there, and I was talking to you, and here's this pipe, and you
Yes.
said, "Well, my husband put this pipe in."
My father
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Your father put it in many years
in
ago.
the 60s. Yeah.
So, which the pipe comes from your property and across the road into this other land that you own that you're concerned about getting wet.
Right.
So your dad put that in there.
Right.
As I was talking, all of a sudden, boom, a blast of water come. And I'm
My
going,
sub pump went off once,
Yeah.
and the whole time we were
so
there.
I'm
Yes.
going, where in the world is that water coming from? Because that's running into the pipe that your dad put in
Yeah.
across the road into this land that you own.
That's why he did it. Yes.
And that's why he did
To
it.
keep
to
it
get
off the
water
front of the property.
But your dad directed the water across onto that property too,
that he owns. Yeah.
that he owned.
Yeah.
Okay. So your concern
But there
is,
was no pond there. It's not that
Wow.
much. It goes off. It went off once while we were there,
so what happened
and
was,
we were there an hour. So yeah, once an hour it lets out the water from the basement.
so then what happened was our highway was there before because you contacted Mr. Bradley and he went down and looked at it.
Right.
And the highway, they tried to dig what they did. They dug a ditch along where water goes across. They dug a ditch along the road, the highway road, remember? And then tried to,
On the other side.
on the
Yeah.
other side, to try
Well,
to
they
get,
also dug a ditch,
to try to catch it from going into your land more.
but the pipe goes in 6 feet,
So what happened
which
was
they knew.
they hit a big rock ledge. And as most people going up and down Route 7 knows, there's stone down there because they see what's going on.
The rock ledge is way over by
Yeah.
Woodward.
Yeah, but that's where the drainage had to go. It had to go
Right.
from across the way down and then down Woodward to get it away from that property. That's where they hit the rock.
Well,
So-
and they knew the rock was there, but they forgot to bring the piece of equipment that goes on the backhoe.
Yeah, no, they
That
didn't
works on
forget.
rocks.
They're hoping they could break that,
They told me they
with a
forgot. I
backhoe.
don't know.
And they found out they're blasting up on top of the hill because
I know that.
it's the same rock, so we couldn't dig it.
Right.
So what happened was Kevin Anders, who's probably watching tonight because he was upset when you were here, he called me too after you were here in December or whatever. He said, Betty, and we said, let's go down and we'll try in the spring to put a catch basin, which is a hole with a concrete form sunk in the ground. That'll catch the water when it goes in and then try to drain it out from the catch basin. Okay. That big catch basin should catch a lot. So it doesn't run directly onto that property. So,
Well, I just have a question.
but let me,
Okay.
and then
Why can't you put the catch basin on that guy's land? Why does?
on that guy's land,
Yeah, why do I have to get the water and then I have to deal with it? Why isn't that contractor dealing with his water appropriately
now
rather
see,
than
the catch,
piping on it to my land, which is against the law? It's against the New
Betty,
York State
the
law.
catch basin is what it is. It catches water.
But why can't it catch his water
So-
before it gets to my land is what I'm saying.
I know. So what happened is,
But why?
if we put the catch basin on top of the hill, it's going to catch the water, but then it has to disperse out of the catch basin.
Yeah.
And then we hope slowly. Well, still, if we put it on top of the hill, it's going to still come out and down, and you got the same problem. You know what I'm saying? So we're trying to catch the water so it doesn't all go onto your property.
Yeah.
But the moral of the story is that property is wet, has been wet.
It
There-
has not, I'm
There's
sorry.
sumacs in there.
You've never been to my house.
I've been there.
No, before this happened.
I've been in your house.
No, before this happened, you'd never been to my property. I have pictures going back 20 years. I had a party with a tent because my lawn went right to the edge of the road, which I keep my property well tended. And now there's this huge ditch, muddy. There's a big, about a 3 foot pond, like about 3 foot by 2. on my property, right at the edge of his, because there's just so much water coming down that's not even going into the ditch, that now my property has a big thing. But why would, the contractor told me that the town told him to pipe his water into the culvert.
right?
But
By the
you don't
road.
have the right to put water on my land.
It goes into the town culvert area, the front. The other choice was, the reason the town said that was to get the water to the front, to follow the route down and hopefully escape. The other choice was let him do it and drain it on the back of his property. That would have flooded right down. You wouldn't have had a garden. I mean, what's happened, Betty, is, and I understand, there's been a vacant lot there forever. It's been
I don't
peaceful.
have a problem with the building. I had the problem with you
No.
sacrificing an existing tenant's rights just for some new guy who's putting up a prefab house to sell to somebody. I mean, no one discussed it. And, I like that water, when I realized what was happening and called, I had an immediate response is, no, we know what that is and we're going to fix it. I knew that land was wet. We're going to get that water off your land. But that was in early September. Nothing's happening. And that
No, that's not, you missed
that
it.
ditch where the water's coming
As I
down.
just said, the highway guy said, we're not going to do it in the winter. We're going to do it in the spring. And
Yeah, but-
you said, fine.
Look,
And then when you came
When
back
I-
in December, it wasn't spring. Betty.
when I talked to Bill and in September, and I kept saying, but it's getting late. Oh, we can dig up till December, no problem. So and then they came and made that big ditch in front of on my front lawn. Like the whole lawn is now about this wide of a ditch, so I can't like walk from my yard into the road anymore. And no pipe, it's not covered again. It's just a big ditch. And his house looks great. So I'm like, oh yeah. So you dug up, you made this big ditch on my house. You've got nice pipes and it's all covered on that new house. And now it's all pouring into my land. And you said, we'll see what we can do, is what you said. One of your ideas was this catch basin. And I get that. So if
My
something
idea,
would-
I'm sorry, Betty, was what?
one of your ideas was that catch basin that you talked
It was
about,
my, Kevin Anders, my deputy,
or whoever
the
said
union.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
the general
remember that
foreman.
being an option, but I don't remember
So
Say-
the
that's the plan.
The reason I'm explaining this is people are saying, you're not listening to this lady, you're not paying any attention. And what I'm saying is, we are paying attention. Your dad, forget that house. Your father put that culvert pipe in right straight across from where the sub pump is to your house,
Yeah.
where the water's coming. So it had to be wet because he wouldn't have done that otherwise.
No, he didn't want it going on the front lawn.
So the
So
pipe
so
is
he
lined right up
bought
with the
the
culvert.
land, and he put the
So he
culvert
tried
in,
to
and the
pump-
town approved it, and he
Yeah.
put the
So what
culvert
he
in.
did was he
Because it spreads out there. It went off once while you were there. You said you were there an hour. It goes off for 15 seconds. It's not a huge amount of water. The land was never wet. I've been in that land. My grandson and I went hiking in
it went
that
off
land.
about 3 times. When I was
Well,
there.
it's wet now, but it was not.
That
wet.
was back in November. Now it's really wet.
Now
Betty,
it's-
here's the bottom line.
Okay,
The bottom line is,
okay.
you live at the bottom of the hill. It's a wet area. It always has been wet. Your dad knew it. There's sub pumps in your basement. Now listen,
But I've never had a problem on my property, on either of the
there was a
properties.
problem because that's why I pumped it. Your problem that bothered you is there's more water now coming off the hill because of that person built a house up there.
Piping it down.
So you're seeing more water and saying, that guy's flooding my lot.
Well, no, I'm looking at the lot. The lot is now flooded. It is flood. Look, that pipe, I mean, you know that I'm dogged, right? I've been out there at 2 a.m, at 6 a.m. That pipe with the water, it never stops. I mean, it never stops running.
Yeah.
It's not like a sub pump that puts out water and then it doesn't go off for like an hour. That pipe from that house absolutely never stops. Never. It's an enormous amount of water. It's 24 hours a day of water
And my guess
pouring
is
into that land.
before it was coming off the hill, and it still comes off the hill on that guy's lot before there was not a house there. So some of it soaked in, the rest of it ran
I
on
get-
your property, made your property a little bit more wetter. What he did was they put a home there, and then instead of running it completely a straight shot, he piped it to the front, which you're supposed to do. So there's more water, but
Well, why didn't you just pipe it across to Woodward Avenue down to the existing town culvert? I don't understand why you didn't just go right across.
Yeah.
Why let it come down into my land? Why didn't you just go across?
so we told you we'd be back in the spring,
Okay,
and I'm telling you again, we're coming back in the spring.
and the spring means like April and May? Is that what you consider spring?
It's-
I just want to be sure.
I
What I know, what you're saying.
wish my
spring
highway
is.
guy, when is spring? It's pretty soon. It's a lot closer than it was in November or December, so. And we're gonna put a catch basin in, across from your property and see if that helps. I'm not gonna stop the guy from, the person, he built a house next, I know, it's a lot better when there was nobody living there. You
You
didn't
don't
have a
have the
problem.
right to approve a plan for someone to direct water with pipes onto another person's property. That's the New York State law. I've talked to lawyers about it. I've been over it. I read it out the last time, and I don't know why none of you seem
He
to know
didn't
that.
direct it.
Maybe you haven't
This guy
read the law?
he directed it to town property, the culvert pipe along the road. He didn't direct it onto your property.
No, but look.
So
the
you're not
pi-
gonna
the-
agree
the
with me.
pipe goes onto my land. Doesn't go into the town land. It goes onto my land. And the solution was, no, we're gonna move it to our culvert. And so I said, all right, but then that didn't happen.
It's a town road. There's a ditch next to the town road.
The
That's-
ditch was put in there by the town of Brunswick. There was no ditch there before. They cut that ditch in there. Remember when I told
We
you
have
and they
ditches
blocked
that-
my pipes?
We have ditches on most of our roads because if we don't, we
But
lose,
not on that.
we lose the paving, so.
Right, I
there's
mean, I
ditches
can bring you
along the road.
photos if you really don't believe me, but the lawn went right to the edge of the road. I mowed the lawn for 40 years now. The lawn goes to the edge of the road. There was
Yeah.
no ditch. There was a ditch right where my pipe comes out and goes across, like, maybe a 2-foot area, but that's it. The whole strip was not a ditch. It's now a ditch.
We're gonna be down there. It's almost spring. It
Okay.
didn't feel like spring yesterday. Probably not gonna feel like spring this weekend, but it will feel like spring. And we're gonna put a catch basin in. I
And it's
don't
gonna be
know.
covered, right? It's not gonna just be another open pit. It's gonna be covered.
It's a culvert. Yeah, it's
Covered.
covered.
Okay.
I don't know if that's gonna help. I mean, we're gonna try.
Well, if
But
it doesn't help, I'm assuming you'll find another way to get the water that you told them to pump onto my land into
okay,
the town culvert, right?
yeah, we keep going in circles.
This
So
is not gonna get any.
Well, I just don't,
Is the ditch in the town right away?
Yes.
Well, the ditch that they made is within the 2 feet off of the road.
And that's where the water is channeled to?
Well, no, it's channeled to, my dad put a culvert in that crosses the road over onto 5 lots that I own, that we own across the street. That's empty. So the water comes down and pours into my land across the street. Now, that culvert was only ever used for our sub pump. As a matter of fact, in 2000, when my mom was really old, I called the town to ask them, couldn't they help maintain that culvert? Because my mom was getting old and she couldn't keep weeding it, getting out the weeds and keeping it clear. And they got back to me and told me, this is in 2000. Well, that's a private culvert that, you put in from your land to your land across the street. We can't we can't help with that. But now it's a town culvert because you want it to be. But when my mother needed it cleared, it wasn't a town culvert. But the whole point is, I know everybody knew who was involved with this, that water was going to pour into my land. I was told that. But we're going to get it off your land. We're going to move it to our culvert that we put in on Woodward Avenue. But that just, didn't happen.
the water's running down the ditch into your culvert,
Yeah. Into our
across the
land.
road in your culvert.
Yeah.
That Dad put
Into
in
the
to
land.
drain it on the wet lot that you don't want the water going on.
Because it's ruined it. I mean, it's
Dad put the culvert and ran the water there. I
there
didn't
was,
do it.
it was never wet then. A sub
Okay.
pump going
Okay,
over
let's-
once an
let's just-
hour is
let's
not
just-
going to
let's
make it
just
wet.
Put the storm drain, put in the catch basin and see how that works for us.
That's what I've been saying.
Okay, and let's see what happens. We're just going around in circles.
We
here.
are, and I'm
We
not
are
gonna stop
absolutely not.
until you fix it.
The reason I'm going around is,
We have a plan. Let's stick
We-
to the plan. And
Okay, this
see
is
where it
second
goes
plan.
from there,
I mean,
okay?
just so I want to acknowledge, this is now the second plan. The
This
first
is
one
not
never
the
got
second
done,
plan.
so
This
now
is
we're
the
on plan
first
2.
plan. We said we would be there in the spring to put in a catch basin. We will be there when spring happens, and we will put in a catch basin. At that point in time,
We'll
you can
see how that
works. We are done with this for tonight.
Yeah.
We are gonna put in the catch basin. We're gonna stick to that plan, okay? Would that work?
Wow, I didn't know you were in charge.
Yes,
Yes, that will work.
very good. That's
That-
what I'm trying to get
That will
done.
work if it happens,
Oh,
if it happens.
I will guarantee that it will happen.
Gordy's in
Look,
charge.
this-
He
this
oversees
board-
the highways. so.
The guarantee really means nothing. I was guaranteed so many things. This is
All right.
almost 2 years now I've been going through this. Almost 2
Gordy,
years.
Gordy, I went through the same thing you just
Yeah.
did in person on the job, on the site in
Yeah.
November. And I said, are you happy with that? It's going to be spring.
If it
And she said, yes, I'm happy.
If it happens, I'll be happy,
And-
but I need to
and
see
then
it
she came to
happen.
the very next meeting,
Yes.
and then I get phone calls because I don't listen to you. I'm listening. So
Well, you were, but you know what you also said? You
What did I
said a
also
couple of
say?
things like, well, that pipe is 6 feet in. I don't think that's really our land. And, oh, well, we'll see. I mean, why don't you sell the land? I go, it's soaking wet. You said, oh, people. will
no. What
buy
what
anything
you
now."
said was I won't be able to sell this land, and I said put it for
People
sale.
will buy anything now.
No, I said put it for sale sign. I promise you, somebody will buy that lot.
I don't want to sell the lot. I want my lot the way it was, dry and happy
It
with all my
hasn't.
plants and
All
the
right.
deer
There's like-
living in there and
Betty, when I was there, I think there was ducks landing in
Yeah.
that thing. It wasn't
Because
truck.
because of the water.
I had to explain it. Next month, I
Yes.
won't explain it quite so much. So
Yes.
All right.
Well, all right. So this spring I'll expect.
Right.
spring. Anybody else? We got public access at the end too, so. All right, again, I like to follow through. I go to people's homes. When I'm not at the meeting and I can't defend myself, and then I get phone calls from residents that's very unhappy with, he said, you guys sitting there at the meeting, not me, look like you're smoking cigars and drinking bourbon. You're not listening to residents. I don't like that image. I'm a guy that goes to the house and I work it out. I had it worked out with you. And I didn't like people thinking we're smoking and drinking bourbon. I'm not that type of supervisor. So again, I told you, and like Gordy said, we're gonna do it and we'll see what happens. So, all righty. Business. Reports by elected officials and town clerk. Town clerk report. So,
Okay. February's income is going to be remitting is $6,436.49. Rounded amounts, we had $4,321 in recycling sales, $1,575 in rental fees for the community center. Odd number because one of them was a partial for one of the businesses. $298 in dog licenses and $248 in vital statistics. And we managed to pull $3 from our NCON people for $55 worth of fishing license sales. So we got $3 from them. This may be considered under new business, but if you don't mind,
sure, don't mind.
we have recently offered a job and she's graciously accepted for deputy town clerk. I'd like everybody to meet Rebecca Delgado. She'll be starting on Monday and hopefully with her help, I can get a little more organized in my office. And she can kick me in the butt a little bit
She better.
because, well, she's got a few less years on her than I do too. So you're going to be a great addition. I'm really looking forward to it.
I hate to tell you, you need help, but I think you need help.
I need
also.
help. I do. I do.
All right, can I have a motion to entertain Bill's report?
I'll make that motion.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Highway Department, Mr. O'Donnell. Everything approved. How are you, Ed?
I'm wonderful.
Good to hear it.
Highway report for February. We plowed sand roads 7 days, hauled cardboard 2 days, cut brush along road 6 days, patch roads 6 days, washed the trucks 4 days, hauled sand 5 days, checked and cleaned catch basins 4 days, steamed culverts 4 days, cleaned the Route 7 sidewalks 2 days, assisted with the water department 1 day. And I just want to say that when you're talking spring with her problem, you know, coming up, we have the sweeping to do, the townwide.
We gotta
brush
sweep all our
pickup.
roads and the sand that we put on in the wintertime.
Right,
Yep,
and the townwide brush cleanup.
yep.
So
We'll get to
you've
it.
got to keep that in mind.
Right. We will.
Entertain a motion to approve Ed's report.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Bradley, Water Department. How are you, Bill?
Good, very good. I guess before I give my monthly report, one thing I do want to say as a citizen, all right? I think we all and every political entity in this state should support the people of Ukraine. They are dying and suffering for our freedoms. And I think it would be good to acknowledge that and that, you know, the gas prices cut into some people's budget very, very hard. But when I hear people complain about it, it's a first world problem. There's millions of people that are suffering tonight for our freedom. All right, town report. We completed all the water testing for the month. And I got down here, February was a quiet month, but the moment I did that, I got a call to go out to look for a water main break this evening. Fortunately, it's just a service leak, so we'll fix it tomorrow. But you know, it's like superstition here. As you say, it's been all good, and it suddenly goes,
You should never
potentially
use the
goes the other
keyword.
direction.
Never use the Q word. Now.
Yeah, exactly. So they've been doing meter replacements and mapping. Currently, the guys have actually mapped. We got 790 valves. There's still more to be mapped, but it's a lot of valves out there when you think about it and the cost and replacement in the future. They're working on mapping curb boxes, and there's 2,900 service connections approximately. So we're going to get a GPS system to help facilitate that and get it into the data faster and get more mapping done. So when I leave here and Wayne leaves here, there's some good documentation for people to follow. I've been monitoring the construction projects in town, and they're progressing. Chuck may have more to feed into that. The blasting at 660 Hoosick Road was complete in February, and Chuck Golden and myself have been forwarding any complaints to the blasting company. And I think, you know, if anybody still has an issue, they can still contact us, but I think we've covered those bases there. I spent time reviewing the new proposed changes for the MS4 community program. The permit that's coming out is a proposed permit which changes a lot of the requirements for stormwater management and maintenance in the town, specifically the town's responsibilities. Linda Vonderheiden of Rensselaer County has been coordinating the response from the Rensselaer County Stormwater Management Coalition, and she's been doing a great job with others in the state of New York. This is a lot of additional clerical work, additional highway department work if it goes through as it was drafted today. Personally, I think, again, our representatives should be focusing on, you know, legislation that reduces packaging, reduces things like flushable wipes and stuff like that, that do a lot more to protect our environment versus putting a lot of this onus on the communities to take care of things that are minor in comparison to things that could be legislated away versus, you know, making the citizens pay additional amounts of money. Not that the environment isn't important, but there's more than one way to get the end result. That's it. I'm a soapbox tonight.
So what are you doing over in Bonesteel Lane?
A Bone Steel Lane, we're working with the Galusha Group, who's Glushan Sons, they were doing the KFC and the Aldi's Kentucky Fried Chicken down at Planet Fitness. A lot of the blasted rock that they initially took out was not suitable for crushing. So we were able to get that and bring it into Bone Steel Lane as an additional parking lot area so that we can enhance the nature trails. I've been working with Councilman Sipperly on doing that. And we're trying to work with them to maybe even do some more enhancements down there. That's in progress. So we'll have, more public benefit there and more people will be able to enjoy the land that we acquired 5 years ago.
Looking forward to that, so. Thanks, Bill. I'll make a motion to approve Bill's report. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Golden, Superintendent of Utilities and Inspection.
Good evening, gentlemen. The report from the building department for February of 2022, we had 75 building and property inspections, 370 active building permits, 10 permits issued or renewed, 17 meetings, 1 planning board meeting, 1 zoning board meeting, 0 court cases, 0 fire inspections, 10 follow-up complaint and code complaint inspections, 2 code call-outs, 7 code call complaints, 8 code complaint inspections, 0 vacant properties identified, 7 planning board projects, and 3 zoning board projects. Update on the current commercial construction going on along Hoosick Road, Harbor Freight. The parapet is done at the front of the building. All the steel is in and the decking is going on, so the roof will be going on next. The Hannaford is finishing up the foundation walls. You'll see that the crane's on site. They wisely moved the crane in while there was still some frozen ground. And the PF development, the rock processing should be coming to an end. They processed all of that rock that was blasted. The rock that was processable, as Bill described, other rock went other places, but it's quite a pile of rock. It grows exponentially. So I'll finish up the report, just doing the year to year and month over month. So for the month of 2021, we had 9, the month of February 2021, we had the 9 permits issued with a value of $439,810 with permit fees of $2,700. For this year, the February of 2022, we had 10 permits processed with a valuation of $602,469,000 and a permit fees gathered of $3,146.93. Our year over year for 2021 was at this point 18 permits issued at a value of $556,106 with a permit fee of $4,210 accepted. And year to date for 2022, second page, 20 permits issued, a value of $973,110 with permit fees of $5,643.53. The Hannaford permit was issued in 2 parts. It was just issued initially for the foundation, and we are issuing the rest of the building project should be this week.
People were asking me about Aldi's. What do we know about that?
They will
Time-wise?
probably be the last to start because they have to do dynamic compaction on that site. So it'll be probably between Wendy's and Aldi's, whichever one is, there will be the
Think that
last of
might
the
happen
3 to
this year,
start.
Any idea?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Construction?
I fully expect that. Yeah. Bill has been working with the contractor regarding changes in the back of the retaining wall, removing portions of, if not the entire retaining wall. Just because the soil's there, it's a fill site. There was a lot of filled, unstable soil. And I don't know, the engineers don't know if a retaining wall is really going to be good there. So we're looking at alternate methods other than a retaining wall.
Thanks, Chuck. Any questions, board? Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town attorney, Mr. Chaffee.
This past month, you participated in the weekly meetings on the general zoning law update and planned revisions to regulations pertaining to two-family dwellings and multifamily dwellings in the town. I attended and participated in a special town board meeting held on February 17, 2022 regarding a zoning change request filed by CVE North America, Inc. in connection with its application for approval of a commercial solar collector system project located off Bel Air Lane. Prepared the resolutions for tonight's meeting. Worked with the supervisor's office on finalizing the contractual documents regarding the provision of telephone service and the town's lease of new telephone equipment at the town office. Been working on the requests for proposals regarding our need to select a firm on an ongoing basis to provide engineering services to the town planning board. Worked with the supervisor's office and the town clerk on various personnel issues. Assisted the building department regarding responding to a Freedom of Information law request. And I performed legal research, provided legal opinions, and reviewed or prepared legal documents as requested by various town officials and employees.
Any questions for Tom? I'll make a motion to approve Tom's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Town historian, Sharon.
Good evening. I want to thank Bill for bringing up the matter of Ukraine. I know you guys are busy with jobs during the daytime, but for those of us who are retired, it's hard to take your eyes off the TV screen. My husband's got a background in law, of course, and he's interested in political history and constitutional history and world history, and had a family that had to leave Europe back before World War II. And I have gotten some calls from people. One was a little sad from a lady who thought she's been looking for years for a family that may have been in Ukraine. She was never able to find them. The family, her great-grandparents came to this country before World War II. And from time to time, I have, tried to help her. I'm not real good on my own knowledge of the history of that part of the world. There were a lot of changes in that part of the world over time. And it's not like looking up your ancestors who might have come to Massachusetts with the Pilgrims. So it was sad. Yesterday, she called and said, did you notice people who were bombed out of their homes? One image was of a woman playing her piano with the windows going from her apartment and her sofa in shreds. And another was of a group of musicians playing in front of a historic opera hall in one of the cities of Ukraine. And this woman's little granddaughter asked, why are they playing that music if everyone's so sad and children are dying? 7-year-old girl. And we explained to her that that was to keep morale up. By the way, if you've heard them, what they're usually playing is the anthem of Ukraine. I went online a couple days ago. The title of that translates to Ukraine has not yet perished. Okay, moving along with what's happening here. It's March, and time to recognize the town of Brunswick was created from a part of Troy by Legislative Act 215 years ago on March 20th, 1807. I haven't mentioned this in a few years, so since we have some new folks coming to meetings, I thought I'd give them a crash course in history. Through the 1800s, our town meeting was an annual fair. It was held at a local tavern, and that does not necessarily mean they were having bourbon and cigars. It was more likely it was a couple of rooms off the back of an old farmhouse where people who traveled by horse or stagecoach could find a night's lodging. It was mostly men in attendance, as women were not then eligible to vote, and the primary business conducted would have been the election of town officials. And our officials, according to our early records then, were a town supervisor, a town clerk, justices. That was the name given to former town council members. If you guys were in office back then, you would have been called justices. We had some positions that have since faded away with the passage of time, like fence viewers and an overseer of the poor. And it seems like there have always been assessors. And at one time, the town did appoint school superintendents. So that was one item of business. The second item of business was the laying out of road districts. I don't have all the specifics. I have from time to time found in some old newspapers that the reason the folks in Troy weren't too sad to see part of it become Brunswick was because the roads were problematic. Road maintenance was getting to be more of a problem and issue with more people moving into this area. So the road districts were laid out, and in those times, not just in Brunswick, but at least throughout New York State, I don't know about the other towns and other states, residents, property owners were taxed a number of days of road work based on the amount of property they owned. If it was a widow, you look at the old maps, you'll see Widow Smith might have lived on a road. That didn't mean they were sending her out with a shovel and hoe. She was able to either engage someone to do the work for her or in some way reimburse the town for the work that had to be done. Usually they, from what I understand, my study of it, is that they would get a neighbor to do whatever work they were required to do. And that was a practice that continued up through the end of the 19th century. Of course, our town meeting, and I did want to mention too, I'm very proud of the fact that Brunswick has its town meeting minutes since 1807, and we also are probably one of the few towns in New York State that retained those road district records. There are literally volumes of them. They're hard to read because back then it's all names, and they might say the road ran from Sam Brown's to the widow Matilda Smith's. No road names. I can show you an 1876 map. No road names back in use in those days. If you go through the town records for a few later years, a few subsequent years, you will see that there were times that there must have been some business discussed outside of the annual town meetings. And a lot of that had to do with the roads, if they had to pay for a culvert or something like that. So the highway has always been a serious issue here. Town meeting concept was introduced and evolved in New England states during the 1700s, and contrary to the thought that a new nation founded by people who had or were descended from folks who wished to live without the rule of a king would have the right to speak out. Not all who rose to leadership positions in early America favored the idea of men having a voice in local affairs. And for example, it's been written Thomas Jefferson may have admired the idea of a town meeting as a revolutionary, but later he came to disdain the notion, once describing a group of New Englanders who turned out to express disagreement as a little selfish minority. And I mention this because I think the idea of the evolution of the town meeting and its importance today might be a good subject to study in regard to the America 250 celebration, which is slated for 2026. Unfortunately, I haven't received much information other than the emails I get every week from the America 250 Foundation. There hasn't been anything promulgated by the State Historians Association, nor has our county historian sent anything out about what or if anything's being planned here. I know there were a couple of celebrations held already in the Westchester County area. There's some stuff going on that involves New York and New Jersey and the state of Philadelphia to establish a freedom trail or something. But I did get, since I wrote the report, an email from the county historian in Orange County, New York, which indicates there's some grant money available and the deadline is May 3rd. And it seems to relate, I just got this before I put on my coat to come over here. It seems that this relates mostly to properties that are eligible for the Historic Records Register, and that would include 2 in Brunswick, the Garfield School and the Brick School. So I'll look this over. It says that the applications are due May 3rd. I don't see what all it might cover, but I'm thinking the Brick School could use some repairs. So if there's some grant money available, maybe that's something we should look at. Okay. So getting on with my month, I prepared and submitted material for our next town newsletter, and because several residents have commented they especially enjoy it when I put out some old pictures and old historic pictures in the town newsletter, I did my best to come up with a couple of things that might not have been used before, and I think people will enjoy them. 2 images. One is of the intersection of Route 278 and Route 7, and the other is a view of the Tom Hannock from your end of town, Phil, Ernie Roberts Farm, back in the 1940s. So look for those. I hope that they can be printed big enough, and if anyone would like to see them, or I guess I can give away a copy, let me know. At last month's meeting, I mentioned the Erie Canal Museum in Syracuse was presenting an online presentation featuring the life and times of Garnett Douglas Baltimore, the designer of Brunswick's Forest Park Cemetery. That was held February 17th. And I guess a couple of folks here, as well as some folks who may have seen this meeting streamed online, did schedule to watch it. And that was great. I got a few words of thanks. And the presentation is now available on YouTube. If you go to the Erie Canal Museum's website, eriecanalmuseum.org, you can connect to the YouTube presentation. I didn't know it at the time. That presentation was prepared by a lady named Suzanne Spellman from Troy, and she is an executive, she's on the executive board of the Mohawk Hudson Industrial Gateway. Program's about 59 minutes long, and and surprisingly, it does include mention of Forest Park, some photographs of Forest Park, and she did a very nice job on presenting a concise history of Troy. So it's really worth watching. I don't know how long it'll be up, but if you have some time, I'd suggest you look at it. March is also Women's History Month, and the New York State Museum has an online program. One is just 20 minutes long, and that features from its collection items that were made or donated and contributed by women. There is some focus in that short presentation about the shaker chairs and boxes and baskets that women from different shaker communities contributed or made, and ended up they were contributed to the State Museum when some of the shaker communities disbanded. There's also some mention of some women's recent political histories. She packed a lot into 20 minutes, but there's a wonderful group of programs now that weren't there a couple of years ago on the State Museum's website, and a lot of them are less than half an hour. They're really worth looking at, especially if you have children. They have a lot on the Indians. They have replays of different field trips that were taken around New York State. So a lot there, especially if your youngster comes home and says, gee, I have to have something to talk about in school tomorrow. So check it out. And that's WWNYSM, New York State Museum.nysed.gov/resources. All you have to do is just put in a search for New York State Museum, and it should come right up. Okay, I was contacted by a new not-for-profit, the New York State Old Cemetery Conservancy, which is based in Queensbury and has been established to encourage the preservation of neglected historical cemeteries and burial sites through training and financial aid. This is a group that seeks, I don't think they're going to be given too much financial aid yet because they're relatively new. The group seeks to accept individual and organizational memberships and is offering corporate sponsorships. And this is really the first time that we've had, in my experience, a New York cemetery, not-for-profit cemetery conservancy or preservation group for old burial grounds. So I think a lot of local communities and historians and historical societies will welcome this, and I hope they support it. The state of Vermont has long had a strong cemetery preservation organization called the Vermont Old Cemetery Association, which was founded in 1958. And that has the distinguished records for encouraging the identification and preservation of burial grounds. And when I talk about these burial grounds, we're talking more about the little burial grounds that you see off in a field as you drive around the countryside with lopsided tombstones. We're not really talking about Forest Park here. But many times people have said to me, why doesn't New York State have a cemetery group like Vermont does? Well, hopefully this one will succeed and we will have. I regularly receive notices of a lot of things, not only upcoming programs and events, but historical publications and books. And I don't usually mention these unless they focus on the local area. But this month I received a notice that caught my attention for a book titled A Prison in the Woods. I'll repeat that for the librarian's sake. A Prison in the Woods by Clarence Jefferson Hall, which tells the history and development of several prisons in the Adirondacks. You're probably familiar with some of their names: Dannemora, Raybrook, Gabriel's, Lion Mountain, and Tupper Lake. And this gentleman, the author, Mr. Clarence Jefferson Hall, who's a college professor, discusses how the rise of environmental consciousness and the labor by prisoners at various Adirondack locations may be intertwined. That is available for purchase on Amazon, and the price for the paperback copy is $30. So I hope if you're interested, you can maybe get it through the Brunswick Library. So let's hope we're all as safe and stable a month from now when we meet as we are tonight.
Entertain a motion to approve Sharon's report. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Tom, Mr. Angster, recycling coordinator. How are you, sir?
Very good, thank you. Good evening. Recycling report for February. Blue bags purchased at the center, 303 at $3 for $909. Blue bags purchased from vendors, 800 for 2,040. Purple bags purchased at the center, 89 at $2 for $178. Mixed newspapers and chipboards, plastic, tin, and glass, 9.39 tons at $35 a ton for $328. Our bale corrugated, 2.68 tons at $121 a ton for $325. Our metal, light iron, and tin, we had 0.7 tons at $192 a gross ton for $120. Our miscellaneous large and small appliances, we had 6, TVs 3, tires 1, ACs we had 2 for $129, and that gave us revenues of $4,030. General expenses, the refuse landfill, 14.83 tons at $69.75 a ton, plus the pull for $1,434. Electronics recycled, 2 tons with 0.98 tons at CRT special handling at 35 cents a pound for $686. And that gave us expenses of $2,120. The total amount recycled in landfill for the month was 29.6 tons. A little short month.
Excellent. Thanks, Tom. Entertain a motion for Mr. Angster.
I'll make it. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sarah, Brunswick Community Library. How are you, Sarah?
Hello, how are you?
Good.
For the month of February, we had 1,817 visitors. Our study rooms and spaces were used 234 times. We answered 259 reference questions. Our Wi-Fi was used 151 times. We checked out 5,752 items, and our programs were attended 438 times. On the 3rd of the month, it was Library Advocacy Day, and my favorite library advocacy fact is that for every dollar invested in libraries, a library generates $7 of worth to its community, and that comes back in the items that are checked out in the programs people attend and in the library technology that is used. And for the programs that people attend, I'll roll right into our highlight programs of the month. On 3/18 at 6:30, we have our Celtic music and stories performance with Jeff Snow coming up. We're very excited for that. We hope some people can make it. We have on the 25th of the month, a seed starting program with a volunteer Girl Scout. We are currently asking for donations of plastic Easter eggs, small candy, and small toys for our Easter Story Walk event that will be coming up in April. April 6th, we have a shoulder pain workshop. April 12th, we have a bring your own tech device technology help, and we have a collage workshop coming up on April 13th. So those are all of our highlight events, and that's all I have for you. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Thank you. Entertain a motion for Sarah's report.
I'll make it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That was a report by elected officials and department heads. Mr. Lewis, resolution?
Yes, sir. Okay, short night. Resolution number 32, 2022. Resolution to accept the water and sewer maintenance roles for the period of, well, can't even read it, 7/1/2021 through 12/31/2021.
I'll second.
Resolution was offered by Councilman Christian, seconded by Councilman Sullivan. Roll call vote. Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. Resolution 33, 2022. Resolution fixing and establishing salary of Deputy Town Clerk and Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics.
I'll second.
Resolution offered by Councilman Christian, seconded by Councilman Balistrary. Roll call vote. Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted.
Rebecca, welcome on board.
Welcome.
Sure, hoping I was going to be positive.
Yeah. I was just waiting for somebody to just be nasty.
right?
Yeah, you hesitated for a minute. you bum. Okay.
She's gonna be a good one. I visited
I
her a
think,
couple
I
times,
think so. Yep. Resolution number 34, 2022. Let's see. Resolution adopting Town of Brunswick local law number 4 of 2022. For people that attended the hearing earlier, it was introductory number 1 because it's the first one we introduced this year. But the lineup is it's actually going to be number 4 in case anyone was confused by the numbering, which confuses me all the time. So on that note, somebody offer it?
I'll offer it.
I'll second.
Resolution was offered by Councilman Sullivan, seconded by Councilman Christian. Roll call vote. Councilman Sipperly.
Aye.
Councilman Christian.
Aye.
Councilman Sullivan.
Aye.
Councilman Balistrary.
Aye.
Supervisor Harrington.
Aye.
Resolution is adopted. That's it.
Bill, we got any correspondence?
I didn't get anything unless you did.
I gotta get my wife to write nice things about us and send them in. to
On that note, I didn't get any nasty ones either, so.
you. Board have any old business?
I have a couple things. We had our first Public Safety Committee meeting. In attendance were all the fire departments, the sheriff's department, Chuck, Councilman Sipperly, and myself. And I think that was it on the attendance. Yeah, the topics were volunteer recruitment and retention. We talked about fire companies, auxiliary and support members, and the junior firefighters. We talked about that, trying to couple that with the volunteer recruitment. And then we discussed the Mohawk ambulance response in the town. I think it was a very positive meeting. It went about, 3 hours? And our next meeting is scheduled for April 19th. And the second item I had was I spent some time, a couple days actually, going through the website. We came up with about 16 pages of recommendations on what to fix on it. And I know Tracy, Becky, I believe, and Pat
Yes.
have already started working on some of them, but there'll be more to come on it, I'm sure.
I did look at other websites out there for towns, and we do have a better one than some of them out there. But there is some room for improvement on it. Make it more user-friendly, I think, would be best. And I actually went on and paid my water bill to try out the water bill thing, and it worked out fine, so. Yep, that's all I have.
Jim's thing certainly needed to be cleaned up, so I appreciate it. I asked Mark to take that project to get a good start, so thank you. Any new business? Only thing I can think of, we got our phone starting to ring for our summer camp, so I'd like the board to think about that. I don't know what we're gonna do for the buses, transportation. We just gotta take a look at everything, so. With the price of fuel and everything else, I mean, I'm trying to figure out whether we don't bus the kids home, because a lot of the parents pick them up from camp, and that would save a lot of money, because right now they pick them up from school, the parents drop them off at school, and then the buses transport them over to the town beach after a couple hours. And then they set over there for the rest of the day, the drivers and stuff, and to take some of them home. So I know we run 3 buses. I know we can run 2 on the way home, but we need to think about that, because I can't imagine what the cost is going to be for the buses.
Well, the last time I think the school couldn't do it, and we ended up spending more on the buses.
A lot
Yep.
more.
Yep.
School had trouble with drivers, and they couldn't come through. I got to check with the school again. Very, very difficult. So, but people are calling. They enjoy the program. You know, swimming lessons out here in the country. Tamarack doesn't have a pool, so some of them struggle when it comes to swimming. So that was a good program over there. So warrants.
Make a motion, we approve our bills.
Second.
Any further comments from visitors? Hello, young lady.
Jennifer Mann, 91 Hill Road. On March 1st, you guys were going to hear back about the CDTC grant. I just wanted to see if you've heard anything.
Yeah. Good question. The Route 7 corridor study was included, Jen, in the CDTC 2022 United Planning work program. And they had a policy committee meeting on March 3rd. And I was told through our consultant that it was approved, but I have an attorney sitting next to me, and he's going to tell me that nothing's approved until he sees paperwork. I'm being told that the paperwork's being mailed to us, an MOA, is that right, Tom?
Probably.
Memorandum of Agreement.
Memorandum of Agreement. So I'm 99.9% sure that we got the approval. And then what happens is the state hired the consultants, the engineers, and start looking at the Route 7. There's a newsletter going out. My article, I'm going to do an article on what happened and explain that to everybody. And right now I'm up to 4 pages. So my secretary's yelling at me because usually they give us 2 pages, but the minute you mention Hoosick Road, but we'll get things explained and get it out there. But Jen, I think we're in pretty good shape. And I think within a few days, I'm being told via phone today that we will receive paperwork for that. So any other questions? Board? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Boy, he's stepping up.